Hi there, YouTube. Um, it's been a while, I guess, more than a month since I uploaded something. Actually, I was busy in, writing some research papers, and was trying to find a journal to publish it somewhere, and eventually I got one. And I also, you know, preparing for conference. I mean, a submission to an international conference. So I was constantly editing, skimming things and controlling my, how I should frame my things because top conferences like the ACL and EACL, these top conferences are very strict in nature in what kind of words you use, your methodology, limitations, all kind of things, right? So you have to be very precise and articulate in your work. So yeah, I mean, more than doing the research, I guess editing and summarizing your work is the most tough one, at least for me. But never mind, it's done now. So, and this video, you could say, is kind of a follow up, maybe? Not a follow up exactly, just what's happening around, you know, war. Of course, you all know that war and shit. But never mind that. It's all ultimately Jewish control. So it will, go down when the Jewish people and their lapdogs are satisfied with the scenario they want in Middle East or the Levantine regions. So this video, I wasn't, in the mood of making one, but I was reading a research paper. Uh, it's called DNA Traces on the Shroud of Turin, Metagenomics of the 78 Official Sample Collection. So, you all know that Shroud of Turin was a very holy artifact for the Christians, as people say that this piece of cloth was used to wrap the body of Jesus of Nazareth, the lifeless body of Jesus of Nazareth when he was taken. I mean, after he was, you know what happened, right? So this cloth was, uh, I mean, the last time I heard, I mean, tried to learn its history, people say it's fake. Many people, try to say it's fake. The staunch Christian says no, this is holy, and it's always been related to Jesus of Nazareth. It's divine and shit like that. So it was first, I mean, the dated history of this piece of cloth, Shroud of Turin, was not originally Shroud of Turin. It was back in France, along the lines of the timeline would be like 1400s or something, and then they got moved in its last resting place in Italy, Turin, and that's how it got its name, Shroud of Turin. And the Turin, well, I mean, the last place when they were, it was moved to Italy. From that time to 1993, I guess, or 1996, it was there in Italy only, in some church, or I mean, something like that, some holy place. So, and I guess it was moved around in World War II, and in 1996 there was some shooting in the place where this was kept, so it was further moved on the orders of the Vatican. So we're not talking about where they got this cloth or what, where it was, revolving around. Thing is the DNA traces because some retards on the internet, like especially redditors, I can't stop myself from making fun of redditors. They're the most retarded and delusional beings I've ever seen. Uh, it some time ago, like 2, 3, or 4 years back, we used to joke about that redditors are those people who LARP as intellectuals, and they're usually dumb. And the people on image boards, or maybe, or some niche cultures of 4chan, maybe QA, or some more niche cultures, they are intellectuals LARPing as stupid people. As time goes, like it it's real, I guess. So I was scrolling on Reddit, of course, heckin' upvote. So this thing came up, and the first line was Shroud of Turin contains 40% what? Indian lineages. 40% of the thing, I mean, the human DNA could be traced back to ethnic Indian lineages, particularly that of the Indus Valley civilization. Look, the paper, I have this, the paper here. You can see, or what the fuck? I can't. Never mind. Uh, I'll tell you. The paper uh, dictates and notes that 14 human DNAs have been extracted from the linen that was found on, that was found on the linen of the linen and the threads of the shroud. So, and to be clear here, 14 samples. There are like people from all over the world. Western European is the like most dominant one. Then there is the Druze people. It's a very rare. I mean genome H33 to be precise. That was also found, and there are many intermixed. Some you could say Levantine and Mediterranean, Near East cultures, and some sample of it. Like there was one sample that showed 38.7% of traceable lineages from the Indus Valley, particularly India. Indus Valley is just you just say India because it's not a big deal, because you know that India, the Mediterranean, the European regions have always traded among themselves. It's not like overnight we are just doing business with all, right? Even the flora and fauna that go like the oranges, it's native to southern China and northeastern India. It went to Europe from these routes. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not big of a deal. This cloth, there is, I guess, 60 to 70% chances that it was involved in some kind of trade between Indian and Mediterranean cultures. Of course it is, because India and Mediterranean are known for their high quality textiles. India, to be precisely, more than anybody around the world, at least in the ancient world. Because you know that the places where people are in numbers, there ought to have things which are, you know people are keen to take it from you, to trade it from you. That is why these places like India, Mediterranean, has always been the hotspots. of the world to trade. It's like a connecting bridge for humanity to trade together, grow together. Some people are losing their shit uh, just because it's a 40% Indian lineage. It's not even lineage, bro. It's not even 40% DNA. It's just the linen may be used or created in our country, in the Indian region. That's what it is. So, look, I'm not here to yab about what's in the paper. You could easily read it. There's a 35-page paper, and it was published on mm, 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 22nd of March 2026. Laboratory of Genomics, Research Center of Agriculture, Maurizio Borin, Department DFNAE, University of Padova, Italy. So they're very educated people, I guess, that did this. And also, you have to be sure whenever you're reading a research paper, please be sure to learn about their methodology and limitations and appendix, because most of the people they just skimmed through the abstract and made their conclusion based only on that. Research papers are all about existing hypotheses, your results, whether they falsify some of them or maybe vindicate some of them. You have to be sure that you know everything around it, because whenever you are reading a research paper, there are many references that are around, circles around research papers. So make sure of that, what methods are used, right? And this is why I thought that people have it's a known trend that the collective IQ of people is degrading as the time is going forward, at least in this modern era. Yeah. So I don't know if people actually read papers, at least a 30-page research papers about some cloth being tested. It's just a matter of faith, bro. Listen, uh, uh, there are two or three sects basically coming up over this news. First one, atheists. They would say, "Oh, we already said that it's a scam. This cloth was already a scam, proven by, like, we already have proven it many fucking times." Second up, Christians. They said, "No, this cloth was used on Jesus of Nazareth. It's as holy as the Holy Sepulchre." I'm just saying, I mean, they failed to see that the only traceable history of this cloth was in the medieval ages, and that too, France. You know, look, let me give you an baseline so you could understand what I'm talking about. Actually, uh, okay, the Shroud of Turin is a linen burial cloth, approximately 4.4 meters long and 1.1 meters wide, which shows the double bodily image. It's a cloth and there's image on it. Like, people say it's a holy figure. Yeah, front and back of a man who has apparently suffered physical trauma through crucifixion, with signs what are interpreted and believed to be compatible with those described in the New Testament 1,2. It has been venerated for centuries, especially by members of the Catholic Church, and popular belief has this artifact as the cloth used to wrap the lifeless body of the biblical Jesus of Nazareth, who is acknowledged as the founder of the Christian movement that started in the Judean region in the mid 1st century Common Era. We all know this, right? Yes. So, to continue more, like how it was found, like believed to be, the first mention of this thing. The true nature of the shroud has been highly debated among historians, theologians, and scientists. Several hypotheses regarding its origin have been proposed, but as of today, no one has yet been able to establish to any degree of certainty when and where this textile originated from. The only historical fact that has been recorded is that the shroud has been in Europe since the mid 14th century when it first appeared in Lille, France, between 1353 and 57. Starting in 1453, it was kept in Chambry by the Dukes of Savoy until 1578, followed by several moves between France and the northern part of Italy during the 16th century, with its final resting place in Turin. I skimmed this part, but you know, you should have full knowledge. Half knowledge is dangerous sometimes. Kept in a reliquary from 1694 to 1993. So, by the way, this cloth, most of the DNA that we get is like how many times maybe this cloth, if you read the research paper, it also mentions that the nuns, you know, sued it many times where it was damaged because it's a cloth, right? You have contaminants from I don't know how many years. We don't know. You have contaminants, we have bacteria, viruses, germs. So there are many environmental factors that degrade cloth. So, yeah. And also, the reliquary also contains some of the human DNA. Not only the cloth, the reliquary too. And this paper tested both of the reliquary and also the cloth. They took samples from it and then tested what kind of DNA are on this piece of relic, right? It says here the shroud was held permanently in the chapel adjacent to the Turin Cathedral, except for a brief move to Genoa in 1706 and to Montevergine in the province of Avellino during the Second World War. After a fire in the chapel in 97, the shroud was moved to the left chapel in the transept of the Turin Cathedral. So, this was a brief known history, you could say, and many people say that what before 1400s, what before it was first found in France. People say it first went to Istanbul. I mean, revolved around Turkey. Then is at that time it was Constantinople. Of course, it was kept with the Byzantines, and it revolved after that. I don't know how people say Justinian too also uh, kept a close eye on this piece of relic. Of course, the Byzantines were staunch Orthodox Christians, so of course they were. So never mind the uh, you could say the places where this cloth have has been, just the results, right? So this is a a very comprehensive paper which I guess identifies almost everything about the paper, like bacterial and fungal taxa defined in the Turin Shroud, plant and animal taxa, okay, genetic affinities among the Turin Shroud samples, of course, using the PCA, principal component analysis, reappraisal of the overall biodiversity panel, Turin Shroud. hmm So yeah, this is the part, the the controversial part right now. So it says, mm, although additional single nucleotide polymorphisms (SNPs) were identified, it was not possible to reconstruct complete mitogenome haplotypes. Example: M39, M56, R7, and R8, identified in our previous study by analyzing mtDNA hypervariable segment 1 (HVS1) from a different sample of the Shroud of Turin. In that study, over 55.6% of the human DNA (HVS1) reads were classified into Near Eastern lineages, mostly are Eastern, right? While Western European lineages accounted for less than 5.6%. Before you jump to conclusions that, oh, wasn't European, it's always Eastern. No, there's nothing like that. There are more than 2 or 3 samples of Shroud of Turin. It's one of them, which shows mostly Near Eastern influence. And there is another one which shows mostly Western European. So you cannot say for clarity that it belonged to one region. Bro, is, you know, Jesus is God for all. It doesn't discriminate based on regions, right? Of course, if you're a Christian, you're a Christian. You cannot say you're a Christian from Mediterranean or Christian from India, Christian from Europe, right? God is one. So why the fuck you are fighting over such things, right? That is why we say it's easier to, make people, make fool of people, like gullible people like these. Maybe this technique, this cloth was used to do the same thing, to make people believe that Jesus was centered around the European regions. Because let's be real here. Most of the beliefs that people have, Orthodox people, religious people, they think that their culture, their belief system is exclusive to their community only. And if some outsiders say that no, Jesus was from the Mediterranean, Jesus was from this region, do you think any European or some people who are converted, of course, Europe didn't have any Abrahamic religion influence until people went, Christianity went from the Middle Eastern region to European regions. They were heathens. I mean, sorry, they were pagans, right? They were polytheistic religions, not Abrahamic, right? So let's say your most of the 1,000 year history or 800 year history, your families are full Christian now. Not only Christian, we're full Christian, full Muslim, full Hindu, full Buddhist. And some person, some community, some group, scientific communities come and say, yo, listen up. Jesus was from this region. Jesus was brown. They said, what? Our God is not looking like us? How the fuck it's my God. My God should look like us. That is why some Europeans have trouble believing that Jesus was brown, or Jesus was black, or Jesus was white. And that is why these kind of things arises when people say that some Near Eastern cultures also have lineage and lineageal influence on this piece of cloth. So there was a need in European regions, and now it's this this thought process is not exclusive to the European regions. We have Eastern, the Sinosphere, Chinese, Korean, and Japan. They also colloquially adopted these things as their own exclusive. Now you go to somebody in Japan and say some shit in Chinese, saying that this should be done to the Chinese way, they would literally kill you, even though their source is same. They have the same, writing system from the Oracle Bone script, but they won't accept it because the time gap is very wide now. And if somebody is believing in this system from straight from the birth, it's hard to accept these terms, and that is why there are people, there are movements, there are backlash always when people say that, oh no, Jesus was from some Middle Eastern region. They won't accept that fact, and this is probably the reason how Europeans were successful in believing, at least controlling their people to believe that Jesus was as European as us. You see, in American media, Jesus was mostly portrayed, at least the Hollywood style movies, that Jesus was shown as white or something. And not saying that it's wrong, it's good to adapt something in your culture. But people do this out of desperation, out of, because their belief system is deeply ingrained into thinking that this is our reality, this is I was what I was born in. And somebody says that he looked like this and he looked like that, he was a native to this culture, not my culture, it was native to their culture. There of course will be backlash, fights, and arguments like that. It's very pathetic if you see. I mean, most of the people are getting what I'm trying to say here, but I don't know if you all agree with me. I don't, not forcing anybody to agree with me, but this is what I think. There is a need to, you know, get an exclusive ownership of your belief system in every culture, any region, any culture of the world you could pick up. There is a constant need to, you know, get the gratification of, at least mental gratification, uh, into believing that my God is exclusively mine. Right? Yeah. So I guess I shouldn't, you know, talk more about this. Maybe people would find me too retarded, too autistic, but I don't care, bro. I just thought maybe this thing was pretty interesting. I've many times read about Shroud of Turin, at least heard about it. It's a holy relic. Look, many of our history is buried. Why we cannot search some of the DNA sample that that are submerged into the ground? Because many regions, like the region of the Anatolian region, the Indian regions, we cannot trace their original communities, like the Indus Valley, the original Anatolian Neolithic communities, because most of the DNAs in the skeletons or the samples have degraded because of the tropical climate. If it was covered in snow, we would be learning some other history. Who would know what Indus Valley people were, what the ancient Anatolian people were? Nobody knows that. Nobody knows what actual faith they put in. They were also people like us. So, of course, they would be believing in some belief system. So, this small bubbles of belief system that are being revolving or floating in the realm of time for many years. not only from after Common Era. Common Era was a desperate need of the European, especially the Vatican, to create an anchor to base their history. Most of the ancient history that people believed in was submerged, destroyed, or not given that much importance after the influence of the Judean ideologies. And by Judean ideologies, I mean all of the Abrahamic religions. I don't discriminate between any Abrahamic religion. They're both three are same for me. So, without wasting most of your time, what the fuck I'm saying? Without wasting much of your time, see ya.